Okay, so quick note, my camera did not turn on when we started recording, so if you're watching this on YouTube, you're going to be seeing mostly Donte, even though I'm there.
Sorry.
I'm definitely there.
Buck teeth and an eraser head.
Oh,
I apologize.
it's great. It's great. Anyway, but then eventually you will see my face. But for now, it's just going to be Donte for like 10 minutes or something like that. And then, anyway.
But
okay.
you'll hear the voice, though.
You'll hear the voice.
You'll hear the voice.
Okay, all right, here we go. So today we are going to be talking about prepping for a convention and tips for selling at your first event. And before we get into this conversation, though, I have to apologize for our frequent skipping of episodes in the last couple of months.
Yeah,
between my getting COVID and then getting exposed to COVID again, we just, our like meetup times we've had to skip a bunch more than we normally do. Yeah, so sorry, my dear listeners and viewers. We intend to not have that happen again, but thank you for your patience as we've skipped episodes.
We try not to, but like, life do be happening, though.
Yeah.
You know, like, things get in the way, and we're
especially
sorry.
in the time of COVID.
Especially in the cocoa time.
In the cocoa.
It's not okay.
Yeah,
no. So, but we'd much rather be safe than give you 30 minutes to 40 minutes of content, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, Lindsey died, but content came rolling in.
I would conjure a kiln. I'd be like, I'm gonna make the airflow perfect.
Ever since Lindsey died, everything came out really great. I don't understand. I had a bad kiln load.
If that is possible in the afterlife, I got you, bro.
I would like follow people around who don't put their grocery shopping carts away, and then punish them within like a day's time. So sooner or later they get a correlation.
Yes.
I went to Walmart the other day. I was triggered. It's the reason I don't go to Walmart anymore.
Don't think about it, bro. Don't think about it. All right. Okay.
All right.
So, the main reason why I wanted to talk about prepping for a convention and selling your first event is because SacAnime is coming up in the first weekend in September. And it's my first time selling at an in-person event since the pandemic. So there's all these things that I'm having to like think about and like remember how to do again.
Yeah.
So I figured, a lot of folks are oftentimes, I think both of us get messages asking like, hey, I'm doing my first event. Like, how many pieces should I bring? Like, there's some stuff that is, that people are wondering about. So I figured we could address some of it as 100%. I'm currently panicking about the amount of inventory.
Well, do you want to tell them about your kiln?
Oh my god.
Yeah, her kiln didn't break. It can still do bisque, but something's up. It can't reach food safe glaze temperature anymore.
Yeah.
So she's just like in my kiln right now, and I'm firing, which is great because I'm doing experiments right now.
Literally saving my ass because basically you really are though, dude. Because essentially, like the problem is not just that my kiln broke because under normal circumstances, you hire a technician, bring in the parts. But because of the supply chain issues, and I also don't want to go to like an outside company. I want to order the coils through Scut.
Yeah, Scut's good, by the way.
Yeah, Scut's good. And I was just like, you know what? It might take a bit longer. And yes, this is literally the worst time of the year where this could happen. But basically, it's going to take several months for all the parts to come in to fix this kiln. So it's like, Donte, you literally, dude, I'm like, you're saving, because otherwise I'd have to go to a community kiln, and as obviously shout out to Alpha, they're amazing.
Yeah, community kiln's good, but
they just their turnaround time is longer, and when I need to last minute be packing in a bunch of orders, those 2 weeks of lost production time, or even more than that, because there's the bisque firing, or I guess there's just the glaze firing.
Just the glaze,
but that production time difference is huge. So anyway, so that's part of the reason why I'm panicking, because normally that's something that I would not have to deal with. And again, that's something to consider if you're doing your first event, is like, make sure you give yourself a lot of time to account for if you're having your work fired
a lot, like months in advance.
If
you're
at least, I would say like safely a month.
If you have everything set, so like if you don't have your own kiln, or you don't have a path in which to put stuff into someone else's kiln, and it's like a sure bet, and they're like, oh, wait a month and I'll have it done, then maybe plan out extra, right? But like a month is minimum for me and Lindsey, who have our own kilns and our own glazes and our own supplies. A month is like minimum, for even people who have the production underway. Yeah.
Well, I'm even thinking like, for me, the month is like, if let's say for instance, you lived out of state or something and I didn't have any other like close resources, my idea is like, okay, I need to have all of my bisqueware ready to be ready to like be taken to, I'll just say Alpha in this case because that's where I would go. But there's also Sincere Ceramics. There's other places, and Inco is also, you can fire your work there now too.
Right, that's nice.
Yeah. Anyway, so there's other places you can get your work fired, but for me that month is like, it could take, like from the drop off point, like you bring all your stuff to a community kiln, drop off your stuff. It could take up to a month to get that back, depending on how busy they are and all those other things. And
don't forget, if you're a social media person, you're taking pictures after that. You're cleaning the bottoms of your stuff. If anything ran, you're probably getting some of those little diamond core plates and scrubbing them off. Yeah, like it's not like you get the product, you're done. There's more work to be done after that. So a month plus is honestly.
Yeah. I always forget how much time it takes. Like, especially again packing up for an event. Like, getting all the boxes together, like, wrapping everything. It takes so long, and I always forget about how long that takes.
It's a stupid amount of time.
Yeah,
it's insane.
Yeah.
When you gave me your stuff, I put it in, like, the night of, and then I waited for 2 more days, and I was like, she's going to think I did it way too fast. And so I waited a couple days.
Oh my god, no!
The day you gave it to me, it was done.
You could have fired it that day. I would have been so happy. I've been like, cool, it's going through. Like, you can fire it faster.
And then
if you want, like, not on the fast glaze fire.
Faster pottery, daddy.
Oh my god, faster pottery. Oh my god.
Sorry.
Glorious. Glorious.
Yeah, no, it's good. Well, it's awesome because when you give me a bunch of stuff, my brain doesn't go like, it does. My brain's like, I got Lindsay's back, and my brain doesn't go like, sure. My brain goes, I'm gonna fill up this kiln 90% with her stuff, and the other 10% is just glazy notes. It's just experiments for me. I've developed 3 new glazes already.
I'm so glad that has worked out in your favor.
It's
in both of our favors.
Because my 1027, I have to wait, and then you fill it up, and then you're like, well, I get 1 testile. What was a Sue McLeod's thing? Her advice was like 1 testile.
Oh,
one glaze experiment per every kiln load will get you far. And my brain's like, what if I do 7?
Yes.
You know?
Yes. Yeah, for some reference, the 1027 is the like slightly larger than the Scut's 818 kiln. So the 818 kiln, if you watch Donte's video on like your first kiln that you should buy as a beginning like ceramic artist, is the Scut KM 818.
Yeah.
But anyway, so
it's 8. Yours is 8 inches across.
Yeah.
And then it's 8 sides.
I don't even remember.
I don't remember.
There's
if it's
a naming
sides.
convention that makes sense.
But. There's a convention to the numbers, and please, I feel like I should know this because I knew it like 3 years ago. But I'm pretty sure hers has 8 sides, and then it's 18 inches high, and then mine is 1027, so mine's 10 sided and has 22 inches high.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure that is what that is. Yeah. Please correct me if.
Yeah. Leave comments in the
on
notes.
Twitter,
even or in the YouTube if you're watching this on YouTube. Anyway,
did you know that Spotify allows you to rate podcasts now?
What?
Yeah, so give us however many stars you see fit if you're listening on Spotify.
5 stars, all the stars.
Here's the thing. Give
us a galaxy of stars.
Lots of podcasts are like, oh yeah, you pay for Spotify Premium. I'm angry right now. You pay for Spotify Premium because there's no ads, and then the podcast put ads on their podcasts.
Oh yeah,
which makes me livid. It's the most un-American thing I've ever heard in my life, to pay for a product and then not get the product. I hate it. But guess what? No ads. No ads right here.
No ads here.
No ads right here.
Maybe we get big enough and cool enough to have consistent sponsors.
But
then
that'll make you if that
But
happens.
if you want, what's great is if you support us on Patreon.
That's true.
We can remain ad free, and I will have more financial leeway.
Too.
Get the night peddlers going.
The night peddlers is extra dirty.
Super dirty.
Super dirt.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's also just us, just kind of shy. Anyway, we should go back.
We should probably talk about
the thing we're actually talking about today. Yeah. Okay, so.
Well, you have an event coming up pretty soon, right?
I do.
So the thing that you do, the first thing you do essentially is make the amount of pieces you need for the show, dependent on what the size you think. So, like, if we were going to Fanime, which is a much larger convention than SacAnime, I would bring probably 0.5 times the amount of pieces. Yeah. So I'd bring like, just for me personally, I bring like 100 pieces to SacAnime with the intention of selling out. With the intention of leaving with nothing. And then on Fanime, I'd bring like 150, 160 with that same intention. I
would probably buy, I tend to do pretty well at both SacAnime and Fanime, although things are going to be a little different this year again because of the Rona.
Right.
Attendance is still kind of lower. But, so a couple years ago when I sold at Fanime, I made 200 pieces and I sold out.
Yeah. You'll most likely sell out if you take a certain, like, amount of pieces. Don't 500 it, but yeah.
Yeah. Although honestly, like, low-key, I could maybe 500 it. That
500?
I don't know. So one of the things, if I'm just purely thinking about how much inventory I need to bring.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I am making that basically, like, I have started putting pieces away since, like, February.
Oh,
so,
for this?
like, for this event,
Okay.
yeah. Because one of the things that's been different about my getting ready for SacAnime this year is that because I used to basically just do in-person events. Like, I had Fanime that I did every other year, and then SacAnime that I would do twice a year.
Right, we both did.
Yeah. And I would essentially never do online updates, or I'd do them very sporadically. With the pandemic, that's really switched. So I'm basically doing updates every month now, and it's been a challenge to figure out, like, okay, how do I make enough to you know, connect with my online community and also still have enough for SacAnime. So what I've been doing is every kiln load I've been putting aside a few pieces that I know tend to sell well, like my D&D and like role-playing RPG stat mugs tend to do really well. So I've been sequestering a few of those aside, but still I didn't put enough aside. So for the last couple weeks I've been like really upping my production level, and I'm like, man, why didn't I do this the whole rest of the year? I would like,
because everything else took up too much space. Like, we weren't good at online social, we weren't good at podcasting, but like all the things that we were trying to do to get ourselves set up didn't allow us to have the time to set up what we really needed to do as far as in-person events. I totally get it. I wasn't good at YouTube.
Well, I think it's also like, you know, I'm always amazed at how much I can pump out in the last like month and a half before a convention compared to the rest of the year, just because that pressure is there. So one of the things I'm perpetually working on is having that, maybe not that same stress level, but that same like, let's pump stuff out, you know, throughout the year, so that I'm not panicking in the last like couple months before the convention.
Gotta have somebody come in and be like, convention is coming!
Yeah, I'm like, it's February! It's coming in September, be ready!
And then you pump all the shit out, you pump all the stuff out, right? And then that guy's like, it's in like 3 months.
Yeah. And then I'd be like, well, cool, now I'm just like,
thanks
chill.
for the pressure.
Yeah, thanks, bro.
Thanks for the stress.
I actually kind of wish that could happen, because then
my
it wouldn't
heart
be as,
hurts, but I am ready for the convention. From all the stress.
Yeah. So, at this point, I'm aiming for around 200 pieces.
Okay.
But one of the things that's different is I'm raising my prices. So, I've been raising my prices over the last couple of years. So essentially, compared to the last time that I sold at SacAnime, my prices are going to be like maybe $10 more per item. Yeah, no, I mean, it's still within the realm. And again, like for those of you who have listened to our episodes on pricing, essentially what I'm doing is the in-person event, I price about the cost of shipping less than the online store.
I think that's what you should be doing.
Yeah.
Just for honesty's sake. It's just like, if my mug is worth $45 to $50 and I'm lowballing the crap out of it, right? $45 to $50, and then online it's like $63 just because I have to pay for shipping, priority shipping especially, with tracking and all that junk on it. When I go to a convention, I'm just gonna give it to you without the shipping. Like,
well, I think that also depends though on like where you're going, because like SacAnime,
100%.
our prices, you know, we're not like, the most gas that we're gonna spend is getting to and from the convention, which is not that bad. But Fanime is in San Jose.
Right.
You know, there are other costs that I think would make it reasonable to increase the price from like whatever your baseline would be.
You know what I found really interesting is that when you go to Fanime, they have you fill out paperwork, and at least for me, and I learned that like nobody did this except for me because it was in the paperwork, and I was so like tedious about it. Right? Is that they have you fill out paperwork for where you're selling and the amount of taxes that you're charging on your items for that specific city. So they told me the amount of tax they do for their city. Yeah. And then they were like, this is how much you're going to pay for taxes.
Yeah, those are because you have to get a California seller's permit, either a regular one or like a temporary one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when I got a regular one, I was like, got to do paperwork for taxes? I thought California was like, the tax was like all the same. No, it's per city. So there might be a little bit of paperwork. But if I were to suggest real quick, and I promise I won't make it a whole topic, check the paperwork for your taxes, number one, whether you need a seller's permit or not, number one, because I've been to conventions where they're like, you ain't got a seller's permit, you can't come in, sorry. And I've had to like get a temp one real quick. Yeah. You know what I mean? They're not that expensive realistically.
Yeah, no, because you don't pay anything unless you sell them. Like you can apply for a temporary sales permit through the California Department of Tax and Fee Administration, or the CDTFA, where my boyfriend works, ironically. He's a graphic designer there. Anyway, it's really funny because I've literally filled out paperwork that he has designed. It's kind of great. Anyway. Did I
You couldn't be any more on point unless you had like Ugg boots on and like a Starbucks in your hand.
Oh, I know. I'm just like, I'm up in my white girl credit.
Oh my God.
I know. You forgive me. I've got to brag on him at some point.
And your real name was Clarence, and Clarence's parents had a real good marriage. That doesn't make... Never mind.
Clarence's parents had a real good
marriage. It's an 8 Mile reference that no one's going to get. Never mind. It's,
okay.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that in a long time.
It's a good movie.
It's a good movie. My palms are sweaty.
Mom's spaghetti.
I feel like this is going to end up being...
A mishmash
of prepping for a convention and selling tips. We're just going to be doing all of the things. I was attempting to have a little bit more structure.
Yeah.
But we're just going for it.
I got where I was.
Okay.
Yeah, so along with that tax paper that you might need, so you do have to keep track of the taxes, and when they usually contacted me, they'd say like, how much did you make? They'll send you paperwork, you fill it out, you send it back, it's no big deal. But
you can also do it online.
Ooh, true. You do have to put in the amount of like gas, food, help, and hotel room if you do travel out into your pieces, right? So like if you're selling all your mugs for $50 down the street, that's fine. They're $50. You're selling all your mugs for $50 100 miles away. How much money did that take to get to that 100-mile away point? How, like, you got a hotel room? How much money did that take? Your pieces might be like $53 each now, just to even out. Some people don't do that. Some people do, but I've lost a little bit of money driving. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You drive, you do hotel, you have an assistant, you pay for food, and then I'm like, wow, one night of hotel, $200-$300.
Yeah.
Food, $100. Gas, $100. That's $500 right there. You know.
Yeah.
And if you went to a convention and you sold all your stuff for $50 and you only made a G, it's half your stuff. It's not big math, but just you don't have to Excel spreadsheet it.
Yeah,
just make a little
just consider what your expenses are.
Yeah.
And then account for that like within your prices.
Yeah.
Like, or you can add I don't know.
Little bits.
Yeah, just
don't
little bits.
like, oh, it's 50 now, it's 60. Huh? Like just
yeah.
math it out a little bit. If I sold 10 pieces at $50 each, I would make this much money, right? $500, right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's what that is.
Yeah.
Pretty sure.
Yes.
But then like think to yourself, well, if I'm spending $500, I'm either gonna have to sell 10 more pieces or raise every piece up this much to sell less pieces.
Yeah.
Right? Just tiny bits of math, not too hard. The other thing I do is I do mine backwards. So like most people, like you'll prep, right?
Yeah.
You'll get all your inventory ready. And then later on, you'll probably be like, oh, SacAnime. Don't need a hotel. Drive there and back.
Right.
Don't really need the gas. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You'll figure out a way to get there. And then you'll be like, okay, toting the stuff along, doing this. If you're doing all that, what I do is I get all the food ready first. And then I get an assistant, essentially.
Right.
So, like, if you have a significant other who's down to, like, trade something, not saying, and then...
Oh, my God.
And then, like, or you have a friend who, like, wants to go with you, you know what I mean? They're like, yeah, I have the day off, we'll go. And you say, hey, I'll pay for your hotel, same hotel room. I'll pay for your food.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and I'll just take care of you. Or you might even pay them a little bit. Having someone by your side to take care of your table when you need to go to the bathroom or you need to get food or you need to go handle some situation or some business is super important. Super important. And if you don't have somebody with you, you're essentially just gonna like, man, you gotta pee, but you're gonna have to like neighbor it up. And you better hope you have your neighbors nice.
Yeah.
You better hope you have a nice neighbor.
To be honest, I tend to be a neighbor it up kind of person. And I think I know some of this we discussed on because we did do an episode like within our first like 10 episodes we had a episode discussing tabling at conventions.
Yeah.
But that was kind of more like not like the prepping for it as much from what I remember. But anyway, I actually tend to prefer not having an assistant there because I like being able to always be available to people passing by, and I think sometimes if people see you like talking to the other person, they'll be less inclined. So, but I think most people do have an assistant.
You're crazy. You're correct. I'm sorry.
No, that's totally fine. I admit, I know it's not.
Go to a social event and talk to people.
It is. I know, right? What? Huh?
Disgusting.
Yeah. No. What I'll sometimes do is like because at SacAnime you get an extra ticket for selling for that assistant.
Yes.
Is I will sometimes give that to Cody, my boyfriend, and then he'll just occasionally bring me food, but he's not in the booth with me.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I tend to prefer that, but I am considering going, joining the consensus on having somebody else there, if nothing else, because when things get really busy at a convention, I will miss potential selling opportunities because I'm wrapping up an item, finishing up a transaction.
And you're like, hold on.
Yeah.
Let me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. So I could see, like, for me, that would be the biggest reason to have an assistant. But in terms of, like, getting food or going to the bathroom, like, I'm fine with neighboring it up.
I can't do it.
That's fine. That's totally fine. We all have our own preferences with that.
Hard. Even if my neighbor is nice, I'm like, oh.
Yeah. That's okay.
And then if they're alone, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hopefully, I have an assistant, and that person has an assistant, and then, like, the assistants just, like, link up and go on missions together for food.
Oh, yes, that's
you know
true.
What I mean?
Yeah,
that's the best case scenario.
Yes,
Is it's like, your neighbor's super cool and whatnot, and it's just, sometimes it don't be like that. And
yeah.
You have to plan for that contingency. Like, what if my neighbor is untrustworthy and kind of a donk? The other thing that I would say is, along with checking your tax information, make sure you check the section of the paperwork that tells you what to bring for your table.
Yes.
Most places will supply you with a table and at least one chair. At least. But I've been to conventions I've been to art shows where they don't supply you with, like, a pedestal.
Yeah.
But, like, check, because I'll bring my own cloth. I bring this big green cloth because Earth Nation Ceramics. I bring a lot of earthy tones. I bring an extra chair for my assistant because they're like, yeah, we give you an extra ticket. We're not giving you an extra chair. So, I've done it one time where the person next to me didn't come, and so I just started, like, using the other table. I was like, I have an extra cloth, and now double the space!
Yes!
And,
usually you have to ask the event coordinators just to...
Usually you do have to ask. But also, like, check how many, because if you want a big space with big items on your stuff, and, like, I saw a metal worker that had, like, 3 tables one time.
Yeah.
But that person had to buy 3 tables.
Right.
Check the maximum amount of tables that you can buy, because sometimes they cap you on 1 to 2 tables. But if you want 2 tables worth, let's say you're a couple. If you seem to have, like, 2 people, or you have, like, a buddy, like me and Lindsey are going in together, we can each have a table. We can technically buy those tables underneath the same name, and it's going to be a little cheaper per table. You're buying 2 tables sometimes, right? But, like, some people don't let you buy more than 1 table. Or they won't supply you with a table. Make sure you check the paperwork for that. Yeah. You'll regret it when you get there with your stuff. Like, where's my table and my chair and my cloth? And they're like, what? No, you gave us money already. We won't care about you. Yeah. We already got what we wanted from you. Yeah. We don't care no more.
Yeah. Yeah, I think in general that is a really important thing to just check and see what all the event is providing, because
100%.
Do they provide a table? Do they provide chairs? Do they provide Wi-Fi? Do they provide
Wi-Fi,
like a pop-up tent?
Yep.
And that's especially important for, like, outdoor events. Like, I one time sold at an event, an outdoor event in August, and I didn't have my own pop-up, and it was very, very hot, and I sunburned the back of my neck. So yeah. This was, like, one of the first events that I ever sold at. Yeah, so that's like, parking is another thing. Like, figure out...
Parking's a huge one.
Yeah, so making sure you're going over that paperwork to figure out, like, where the parking is going to be.
Yeah.
Another thing is just, like, how big the space is, because at SacAnime, one of the biggest things is that they recently expanded the size of their artist alley section, so each individual table now has more space. It used to be pretty claustrophobic. Like, you would have your 6-foot table and then about 3 feet of space behind that. And that really, it really affects how much you're able to, display and what kind of display area, what your display is going to look like.
Right. Yeah. Another thing for me, just me personally, like, I would always request a table by a window if they were there, because pottery looks so much better in the light. Half the time, you can really see the colors. So, like, they always thought it was... went to SacAnime like 6 different times, and I would always be like, can I have one? It was in the backspace.
Oh, yeah.
By the window, and they were like, why? Nobody wants to be in the back. And I was like, I really need it. Like, I don't want to look at muted colors all day long. I'm sorry. I need like, vibrance to some extent. And the sunlight provides that. And when people walk by, they're like, oh, damn.
Yeah.
They really notice. That's a huge one. And the parking one's a great point, too. Because either you're parking at your hotel, which is close enough to where you're going, or you're paying for some type of public parking, which you do, again, need to put into your finances along with your gas, if that's a thing. Fanime, I charged like $50 for 3 days.
That's actually not that bad. $50 for 3 days? Was it $50 a day?
No, for 3 days.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's not too
So
bad.
it was like $15+ every single day, essentially. But like if you bought all 3 days, it was cheaper than, and it was like next to McDonald's, next to our hotel room. Like we chose this parking spot the first year, and we all agreed like it's good because it has all these things.
Yes.
And then it was next to a theater, and the coolest thing is there was a Safeway down the street, so we didn't have to like eat fast food all the time in our hotel room. It was great. Like those little choices. It's a war. It's war. Look at me. Look at me. It's a war, and your job is to make sure you have better equipment, better space, and location than all the other people. And your products can be out of this world, but if you're not where people see it at the right time in the right place, you're not gonna get that brand, right?
Yeah.
So like I've been to not a convention. It was an outdoor selling event at a high school, and it rained, and I was the only person with a gazebo, and I sold out because everybody was like, "Whoa, it's not raining over here."
Yes.
And my mom put me onto that. She's like, "You need one because it's December. If it randomly rains, you're gonna be the only person. Everybody else is not gonna buy a gazebo." So I spent $100 thinking like, man, that was like my last $100. Made that back real quick.
Dang, that's a really good point.
I'm just like having a contingency plan for things that might go wrong is always going to edge out your competition that doesn't have contingencies or backup plans.
Yeah.
Think about Batman. His whole superpower is he has backup plans.
Yeah.
That's it. He's really good at punching people and he has backup plans.
Yes.
And he wins most of the time. Like
I was gonna say, on that note, there are many lists that you can find online that are like complete checklists of things you need to bring for a convention. So I thought, if you don't mind, can I go through my checklist?
Yep.
Okay. So, and I'm going to be soapboxing.
Is this your checklist?
This is my checklist.
Or is this a checklist that's been modded from...
Well, it's kind of a combination. Like, I wrote it from my brain.
Yeah.
But when I first started selling at events, I found this information online. And I'll link in the show notes, like, some other resources for our listeners and viewers to check out. Because there are some just really fantastic resources out there. And again, like... I feel like part of our mission as the Mud Peddlers is not just to share our own information or our own like experience, but also connect people with other people who have experience and other information to give. So we want to be a resource for other resources as well.
Got it.
So anyway.
Resource Prime.
Yeah. Okay. So in terms of, the first big thing is display materials.
Oh.
Yeah. So the primary thing that I think of is like a table covering.
Yeah.
You can either have a tablecloth, or you can have, there are kind of like almost like a spandex type material that you can put over the table itself, and it kind of hugs the table legs.
Yeah.
I've seen that at usually at like larger events. Personally, again, and a lot of this has to connect with branding, but I personally prefer tablecloths because you can...
Same.
You can brand a little bit more. Like, you like using a green one.
Yeah.
I usually tend to use a white tablecloth base and then a red one over the top, so I've got 2 colors.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I think it works. Another thing to consider with that is tablecloths are stupid expensive, especially big ones. Something to consider with the event and what kind of table they provide is sometimes they provide like 6-foot tables. Sometimes they'll provide a 10-foot table.
Yeah.
So whatever table covering you have, I would recommend having something that can fit both. So keep that in mind. But since tablecloths are so expensive, like one of the things I've thought about doing is, instead of buying like a proper tablecloth, is going to Joann's, which is a fabric store, and buying the fabric there and then just hemming it myself, because it's literally like half the cost. It costs more time because I have to hem it, but
if you can hem, or you take it to a hammer.
Stop. Hammer time.
Another little tip with the cloth is that, as Lindsay said, the bigger ones, the nicer material ones, usually like way more expensive, right? When I first did it, I shelled out, again, my mom's advice, I just shelled out for like the biggest, nicest material one.
Yeah.
Number 1, because they don't get dirty as easily. Number 2, they're easier to wash if they do get dirty. Number 3, a big thing for me is partly security and inventory capacity. So I'll usually like, oh, okay, you gave me an 8-foot table, I have a 16 or like a 12-foot cloth. I will hang it over. My side will be open. So the cloth is like, the table's here.
Yes.
Cloth hangs over here.
Yeah, also our listeners will not be able to see, but...
I'm gestating again.
Gestating?
And you like hang it over, so when it faces the customer, they just see a table with like the green
Yes.
Right? But to you see your backpack, you see your drinks that are all the way, you see your card slide machine thing, you see phones, you see cell phone chargers, and you see your extra inventory that are all open face to you. So when someone goes, do you have any more XYZ? You go, yes, boom, right here. If somebody goes, hey, do you have money for X? Yes, boom, right here. It's not covered to you for security reasons. But they don't need to know you have your backpack with all your goodies underneath the table.
Yeah, plus it just doesn't look as good if they can see under the table.
100%. So if you're getting a cloth, get a bigger one than most tables that you will think. It's not a dining room table. It's usually about 10 feet maximum. But, like, get you a 12 or 14. You know what I mean? Like, get something nice.
I agree. Along that same line of display materials is what kind of shelves or what kind of like boxes you want to have to display your work. So for me, I ended up making most of my own display pieces, but I also went to Michael's and again Joann's and got some additional pieces to supplement that.
Yes.
The biggest thing with that is that especially if you're selling it at an event for the first time, if you don't have a lot of experience of knowing like what your branding is, sometimes it can be really hard to decide like, how do I want to set up my work?
Yeah.
So what I would recommend doing for that, if you're still kind of unsure on that, first of all, go to Pinterest and look up a bunch of other display options, kind of see what draws your eye. Okay, it doesn't have to be Pinterest. But either way, you want to like look around and see what kind of displays you like. Next time you go to an event, kind of pay attention to how people have their stuff set up. And then if you are really, really not sure about how you want to approach your branding, what I would recommend doing is stick to a really simple, almost like a kind of gallery look. So like a white, like miniature pedestals that are painted white. You can either paint them white yourself or you can buy them elsewhere. Have a white tablecloth because in general, I'm inclined to think that if you're selling at an event for the first time, the biggest thing is you just want your stuff to look nice.
Yeah, you don't really know your brand or your color yet. So like I have a green one, but I have a green one after I had like a red one because I had, I didn't know.
Yeah.
I wanted earthy tones because of Earth Nation ceramics.
Right.
Like I don't want Red River ceramics.
Yeah, Red River ceramics.
I don't know.
That's the vampires. Ceramics.
Yeah,
yes.
Everything's goth. But if you were a goth artist, ceramics,
totally makes sense.
You would have black stands with a red with a red cloth.
Yeah,
like, perfect example.
Yes,
back around the bend.
Exactly.
Crap.
10 points.
Poggers.
Another thing is, where is it? Okay, so as you can see, I'm consulting my notes. So another thing to think about in terms of your display materials is what kind of work do you have and how are people going to be looking at that work when they come up to your table?
Yeah.
And what I mean with that is if, like, let's say you primarily make bowls.
Yes.
And the inside of your bowls are really, that's kind of what is the main attraction.
Yeah.
So you got to think about, okay, when someone's walking up to the table, do you want to have some bowls propped up kind of on their side so that from a far away distance, people can, can see it.
Yeah.
But you'll also want to have some pieces that are, so if someone then walks up to the table, you'll want to have some bowls that are set down just kind of as you would normally put a bowl on the table so that they can look down. So same way with my mugs, I have a display that is set up so that both far away on the shelves, people can see the front part of the mug because the front part of the mug is what is the main attraction for my pieces,
right,
as opposed to like the inside of a bowl. So I have that, but then what I ended up doing is having some display kind of like shadow boxes that are angled up, I guess, or angled back. So that essentially
it's like an incline.
Yes.
If you're going towards yourself, but a decline towards the customer. So it's like that.
Yes.
They're faced out towards the customer.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out, like, how do I verbally describe this thing that I would normally demonstrate for our listeners? But anyway, and that allows for people who are standing right up at the table to look down and still be seeing the front part of the mug, not the inside of the mug. Yeah,
same thing with me, where I don't decline them or incline them like Lindsay does, because hers are kind of like declined essentially to where they're facing up towards it. So
up towards the customer?
Yeah, up towards the customer. I called the customer it. Mine are more pushed inwards. So like the middle of my table are all pointed towards you. If we're at a table, right?
Yeah.
My pieces are pointed towards you. The ones on the outside of the table are faced in diagonally a little bit.
Oh.
So that the pieces are actually all facing someone who comes up to the table.
Yes.
And it makes it seem as though they're looking towards them with intent, right?
Yes.
And you're completely right about the whole like looking inside the thing. I sell my bowls in sets. So if you go to my website and I sell bowls, I'm not selling a singular bowl. I always sell a set of bowls.
Yeah.
One of them will be facing towards you. I'll put it kind of on its side, and the other one I'll face regular, so that just by gift of sight of God, they'll be like, oh, that must be the same exact bowl.
Yes.
But that's what that bowl would look like on the inside, and they are a set. Just they're inferring information, right?
Yes.
That's what I want them to do. I want them to infer information. A second tip based on that is that you will usually have one piece of work that will sell more than the others. For example, mine are my like avatar cups. I just know that people are going to want those more. They're a little bit cheaper. They're easier to make. They're numerous. They're just silk screens. I'm going to bring like 50 of those.
Yeah.
Versus, my vases that I might bring, 2 or 3, just to let people know I do like a little bit of higher tier, I suppose.
Yes, the same thing that I do with my sculptures.
Exactly.
It's like by having a variety of items, it creates more visual interest, and it also raises the overall value, the perceived overall value of everything that you have on your table, because you have these few pieces that are like the showstopper pieces.
I usually have them back towards me. They're usually way taller and bigger, and they're usually at the higher tier. So I mean higher tier as in like when I put my table down, I have the bowls and the teacups down here. And then it goes one more tier, I have pedestals.
Yeah.
And then I have, like, the big mugs. And then pedestals, and it's, like, gourds, teapots, things like that. And then the last tier is, like, oh, my God, there's a 1-foot-tall vase with a crystalline blah, blah, blah on it. And those are near me in the back. So that way you can see kind of like a photo with many people in it. You can see every person because it's tiered upwards. So my table is set up facing towards you, tiered upwards, with all the interesting parts facing you, even if I have to put it on the side a little bit. Generally, along with the earth tones, because that's how I set up my table, right? But you're gonna want to bring 1 or 2 of what you might call like your better pieces, because you're gonna get them. You're gonna get that one butthole who's gonna look at your stuff and be like, oh, I did this in high school. Is that all you do? Is you make cups? And then you can be like, no, butt crack. And then pull out the big sauce.
Not that there's anything wrong with, quote unquote, just making mugs anyway.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. You just want to be able to spit in their face a little.
Okay.
It's my favorite thing in the world to do is to bring like 1 or 2 pit fire pieces that I've like sealed with like copper on them and red stuff on them. They're like, oh, you just make little avatar cups? I'm like, no, actually, your mom.
Oh, I'm gonna have to edit out so many curse words.
It's right here. It's the size of your baby, actually. So, yeah. The last one, too.
Yeah, I hear that. Another thing in general is that if you're worried, like you're talking about like how many pieces of each to bring, just keep in mind that if this is your first event, just know that you're going to gain more information the more that you do this.
Yeah, 100%.
So even if you're starting out, like in terms of a baseline number, and then I'll get back to my checklist, but in terms of a baseline number, like if I was selling my first event, how many pieces did I even bring to my own? My own first event, I mostly had sculptures, to be honest, and then maybe like 10 like bowls and random cups and stuff.
Can we just reminisce how bad our first event was real quick?
Oh my gosh.
Can we just say?
Can I finish? Sorry, we're going to like a lot of different places. I just want to like have a coherent thought. It's just because there's so much that goes into all of this.
There's a paper in front of Lindsay.
There's literally a whole paper. And I only got like halfway through my notes. In terms of what I would like to, I should have there multiple pages.
No.
Yes.
Oh my God. Yes. Go.
So again, my first table mostly was sculptures, and then I had a few, like maybe 10 random cups and like mugs. So that was my own first event. If I were to recommend selling at, someone selling at their first event, how many pieces they would bring, I would maybe suggest 20 is a good kind of like, that's just like a base, like let's see how many there are. It's enough to kind of make the table like a regular 6-foot by like 2-foot table look full. And then keep in mind that if your pieces are lower priced, you're probably going to sell more of them.
Of course.
If they're more expensive, you're probably going to sell fewer. But keep in mind as well that if you're selling at a farmer's market, people are less likely to, or people can sometimes be less likely to buy things because a lot of people just come to browse.
Of course.
If you're selling at an event like an anime convention where like people go to these conventions to buy things.
People go to the artist alley room to buy art.
Yeah, to buy stuff. Yeah, it's I personally tend to have better luck, and again, it also depends on what kind of art you are making, like your market, but then again, all of these things are things that you will continue to learn and get more information about the more that you sell, the more that you post online, the more that you bring out into the world, the more information you'll get back, and the easier all of this will become.
100%.
Yeah.
It's also, as Lindsay was kind of touching on, there is a different vibe and culture depending on where you go. So like at an anime convention, I bring a lot more anime pieces, a lot more I guess fandom pieces, if you will, and they sell out more because that's what people go there for. They want to buy pieces of their fandom, something that might have helped them get through a hard time, or just a piece of their life. They want to get like some fandom of it. But like at an art festival or at like a craft fair, people usually peruse a lot more. So don't feel bad if people are walking by your table, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I've been to so many anime conventions that other ceramic artists contact me asking me where I was because I was like, oh, where's that other guy? And then they're like, he's not here anymore. He's online now.
Yeah.
And then they message me like, are you ever gonna SacAnime again? I'm like, nah, man.
Yeah.
Well, maybe. I don't know.
I personally think it'd be great if you came back.
It'd be good, but I've already adapted to the Corona times to selling online, and it's so much easier. Would like to just take pictures, put them up, make a little caption, but like. I don't have the social piece like you do.
Yeah.
I don't have like that. I went to a convention. After an anime convention, I'm burnt out so hard.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I'm burnt out too. Like the Monday after a convention, I don't do anything. I stay inside in my pajamas, playing Skyrim or watching shows. But for me, I like selling, or one of the things I like about selling at in-person events is I don't have to ship everything.
That's
because
fair.
For me, like, shipping stuff out is in some ways the least favorite part, or my least favorite part of the process, because it's really time consuming. You're spending money on shipping materials, and it takes a lot of time to put together. And I kind of like having that face-to-face interaction, wrapping stuff up enough to put into a bag, and then like sending it on its way right there.
Yeah, that's true.
That brings me back to another item on my checklist, is bags. So bags and a way to provide some cushioning for your item as it's getting taken home. Because I think particularly for ceramics, people are nervous about carrying around a thing that can be broken.
Yes.
So having a bag, and you can either use bubble wrap. If you do use bubble wrap, which again for environmental reasons I would discourage
We're not really pro bubble wrap here.
Yeah. The only thing, okay, well, that's a different thing, but there is one situation I will probably still use bubble wrap, but I'll explain that in a second. But if you do decide to use bubble wrap, I don't like recommending Uline because they have really problematic Eco Enclosed does not have bubble wrap.
Well, that's true.
Yeah. So Eco Enclosed doesn't have bubble wrap. So anyway, if you're choosing, if you're gonna do bubble wrap, Uline is the only company I've found that does a 30%, like the bubble wrap that they have is made from 30% post-consumer products.
Right.
So it's a little bit more environmentally friendly than some of the other bubble wraps that are out there. But one of the better options would be to use something like Ranpak, which you can get through Eco Enclosed and some other websites.
Yeah.
That's a more environmentally friendly
right.
way to wrap things up. The one time I would still potentially use bubble wrap is just for my own personal use, wrapping up items, because it's much faster for me to grab one sheet of bubble wrap, put it around my mug and put it in a box, but I'm not shipping that out.
Well, what I also do in that same spirit is newspaper. I'll get and I've used the same newspaper for like years, right? I'll get newspaper, crumple it up, and then make padding, and I'll make like a little box of newspaper with little crumbles in it.
Yeah.
And then I'll shove my piece, and then like, it'll fill itself in. I'll just keep putting the pieces sideways and down, and they don't bump into each other.
Oh, okay.
Same thing with bubble wrap. I used to use bubble wrap, but when I did, I would just use that bubble wrap over and over and over and over again. Even when I get packages from other artists, I'll be like, ooh, free packing material.
Yeah, I totally do that too.
Like,
I totally do that too.
I reuse the system, the products or the byproduct that a system uses must go to the next system in my mind.
Yeah.
So like, I always think about like the animal world, like, oh, an animal did something, and then another animal came and said, hey, the thing you did I can use for my thing. So on and so forth, circle of lifestyle.
Circle of life and the wheel of fortune. I'll probably cut that out. Anyway. Another thing on the checklist for us to discuss that has to do with display materials is signage. And
signage?
There's two different kinds of signage. So there's signs, putting up signs for your brand name.
Yeah.
And then signage for pricing. So for the brand name, I admit I'm really terrible at this. I still don't have like a regular big like...
The vertical banner.
Yeah.
What I see at SacAnime and Fanime. Yes. All your Instagrams and all your stuff. And you put it right next to your table.
On the table, yeah. Or like above or down on the table, like in front of the tablecloth itself. I still haven't ordered one of those. It's one of those weird things that I just don't I don't have, and I'm gonna try and order it in time for SacAnime, but we'll see.
Right.
But again, if you're selling at your first event and you're like, ooh, I don't know if I want to drop a bunch of money on a big sign, or you're not sure about like the technical side of how to do that because of like, you know, you don't want to end up with like a really pixelated image.
Right.
What you can do is you can print out all of your information on just a regular piece of paper. Go to, again, Joann's or Michael's or your local like craft store. Get a wood plaque, and then just use basic Elmer's glue to glue it to the wood back, and then do a layer of glue on top to give it like a nice finish.
You know what they're starting to do now that we need to get on, honestly?
QR codes?
No, not QR codes. Okay. Well, QR codes are good, but there's this thing called a dot. It's a little card.
Oh, I've seen those.
You've seen those?
Yeah.
All you do is like people go like, "What's your information?" You pull the card out and you go, "Here you go."
Yeah.
I've seen people start putting that on the table and like sticking it to the table somehow, and then it just says like tap phone for all info. And you get their Facebook and their Instagram and their OnlyFans, and you get all the stuff. Get all the goodies. Yeah.
I still think having your name somewhere is probably a good idea.
Of course, yeah.
And I say that having not done that myself,
right?
Except for business cards, you know, it's like obviously, and that's another thing on the checklist for sure. Bring business cards, because I still, this might be the boomer in me, but I feel like it's still nice to have a physical reminder of that person's work, because even with the dot, let's say you look them up but you don't immediately follow them,
right?
That web page could just get lost, you know, like you the next time you pull up your phone, you might just go to a different page, and that anyway. But having like a physical item is a like, oh, I grabbed this person's card.
Maybe
you know?
both.
Yeah. I think both is a great idea.
But like, you don't need it. Like, instead of 1,000 cards, take like 200, 500. Put them next to your dot, and then put a sign up there that says card here or scan. You know. Yeah. And then they can choose.
Yeah.
I would hope that they would choose the dot.
Yeah.
For paper's sake, because you know they're gonna get home and like.
Yeah, eventually. But I definitely am a fan of collecting business cards, and then at the end of a convention, I go through, because, you know, again, oftentimes like I don't have the time to like look up that artist at that particular moment. Yeah. So I collect the cards, and eventually they do end up in the garbage or in recycling. But I do still like having the business cards. Now, signage for pricing, I think, if your prices are basically the same or if they're really consistent, I think it makes sense to have, like, again, a little plaque, or, you know, a couple you know, smaller price notifications on as part of your like client facing display. Yeah. But if your prices vary a lot, then I think it makes, you know, sense to have like the individual stickers that you like put on the bottom of the pop. Yeah, I think that's important too. I used to do stickers. Because, you know, you get a little packet, stickered up, put them on. But then, like, I would lose that sticker after I sold that pot, essentially, because they would take the pot home. Yeah. Or I can't reuse the sticker. The adhesiveness kind of, like, wears down after a while. Yeah. So what I did is I went to, I don't know if it was Michael's or Joann's, but it was definitely one of those two. Yeah. And I got these little kind of chalkboard signs. Little cutesy little, they look like something a live, laugh, love person would buy. You know what I mean? And I just put the and you know what I mean. And I just put the price on there. Yeah. And then I put it next to the piece. Yeah. And then I put it next to the kind of pieces. So bowls, I'll put bowls, X amount of dollars. Yeah. Every now and then somebody will be like, "How much are your bowls?" And I'll just go, "Oh, it's right, price right there." And oh, okay. You know, or people like as much signage as you put up, they will ask. Inevitably people will, which is fine, because honestly we see so much advertising all the time that I think our brains just kind of get used to not. I have no idea if there's scientific backing behind that, but there has to be. We just don't look at signs, or we don't read them, and it's fine. It's a very human thing. We're kicking the crap out of advertisements in our society. Like, they know we don't pay attention to them. Yeah. And so they try to get them in any way they can by like, you know, Spotify used to like raise the audio on there, and they know what they're doing. Yeah. They do it on purpose. They're heavily aware of it. It's one of the reasons I don't like advertising. It's a different story for a different time. Yeah. But like, it's one of the reasons why I hate advertising immensely, is because they do these little tricks to like almost try and brainwash you and that's one of them. So I don't blame other people not looking at the list right away. Right. Because then like even my brain goes like, I'm not. You know, like, you want to look at the stuff. I'll figure out the sign once I figure out if I want to buy something. Otherwise, I'm not looking at that sign. Yeah. Extra mental space I don't need to take up. Yeah. And I feel like it's trying to make me do something I don't want to do. Yeah. But it's still important to have that signage up there, because I think sometimes people can get uncomfortable having to ask for the price.
Yeah.
Like if you have no signage anywhere about what your prices are there, especially with ceramics, because again, in certain situations like anime conventions, again, that's just because where our experiences are.
It's such a good experience at anime conventions.
They are,
for me, and compared to like craft fairs, you know.
Yeah, but particularly with ceramics in anime conventions where people may not be as sure about like what the pricing is for ceramics, they might be like, ooh, these must be really expensive because I don't see the price anywhere. So it's like, even if people don't look at the signage, have the signage there as an option.
You need the signage there.
Yeah.
Me as a consumer hates it, but you need it.
Yeah.
Right? Side note, just as a good example, because I feel like some people might not understand the parallel. If you have that friend who will not ask the waiter for things because they see it as rude, that's the same person who doesn't want to ask the price for work. It's the same person. So that signage really, really helps them.
Yeah.
I'm antisocial, so I will just get it done as fast as I can. I'll go, nice bowl, how much? And they'll tell me, and I'll pull my card out, and hopefully they infer that I want to buy it.
Yeah.
And then they'll package it up, and I go say, have a good day. And they'll go, have a good day. I'll follow the rules of society and then the nomenclature up to the point of the sale. And then after that, you're out of my life, right? But for other people, they don't exactly work like that. Some people really want to talk to you when they buy this stuff. Some people really want to just shoot the breeze.
Yeah.
Some people want the signage. They want to talk about your work. Some people want to look for a little while. They want to peruse. People work differently.
Yeah.
Right? It takes me 3 minutes to buy something and decide whether I want it or not.
Yeah.
People want to see the signage and they want to contemplate. Might take them 10, might take them 20, you know?
Yeah.
The good ones, the awesome people are the one, well, it's not like you're not awesome, right? But the cool people are the ones who like come back like, hey, I came up to my sister with this bowl and like, she really likes it. She wants to know where I got it.
Oh, that makes me so happy.
And they kind of become little friends,
yeah.
you know? And you're like, oh, so you came back. Okay, word. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
That always makes me so happy.
Yep. And there's always one like, I took it in high school, and then you start like a little, you know, stuff like that. Yep.
Yeah, it's fun.
Be wary of anyone who looks at the bottom of your pots right away.
Yeah, I love that.
Be aware.
I love when that happens. They're like, oh, you're a...
Yeah.
Or when they do the thing where they feel the thickness of the pot.
They
yeah, that's another one. Yeah.
Also, tell people, it's depending on you, but whenever people do they'll do one of these, they'll be like, oh, you know, for people who can't see.
God.
And I go, it's okay to touch it. You don't touch the inside of it, but like, if you want to pick it up, see how personal it feels to you, see how light it is, like, go ahead.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, shoot, I still tell people to touch the inside. That's fine. Like, hey. That actually, that reminds...
You know who else likes to touch the inside?
Oh my God,
Sorry.
such a pervert.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I have, on my display, I have at least 6 little, like, notes that say, touch us, because... People are really hesitant. Yeah, which I appreciate.
Yes.
Like, I mean, I would rather have someone be aware of like, oh, this is a thing that could break. I want to be careful with 100%. It than like, oh, you know. But so that's another signage thing. Oh, this is another just kind of general point because reading my little bags note made me think of this. As much as you can with those things that are disposable, like business cards, like the bags, like your packaging. People really appreciate knowing that those things are chosen for like environmentally friendly purposes. So one of the things that I do on my bags is I have a little stamp that I post on the outside. So I stamp my information, and then I stamp on the other side a little note that says like, these materials have been packaged, with post-consumer materials, with recycled materials. Anyway, I have a little note that says like, hey, this is environmentally, I am trying to be environmentally conscientious. So keep that in mind, that even if you're buying a bag that, it's not packaged like an iPhone or whatever, even if it's not the nicest packaging, I'm inclined to think that people would rather have, or that, how do I say?
I just respect it more.
Yeah, and it's okay if it doesn't look like the nicest thing ever. Again, particularly if you're just starting selling at a convention, it's okay to have like the craft, bags. But then know that it's also okay to advertise as part of that these packaging decisions were made conscientiously for environmental reasons.
Side note about the bags is that if you read I'm going to call it a contract, but I don't even know if that's what it is in actual terms, right? If you read the contract for your table that you're setting up for this in-time event, some of them will not allow bags. Some of them will say, do not bring bags.
What?
There was one year at SacAnime, Fanime, when they said, we're trying to be environmentally friendly. no plastic bags.
Oh, plastic bags. That's,
I'm sorry, I should have said plastic. No, they're like, don't bring plastic bags.
Okay.
The city is so concerned about plastic waste in the streets because people just be littering like it's every day, right? Like, you don't have to go to church and say sorry to God. Yeah. Like, but they'll like bring plastic bags, not caring about, you know what I mean?
Right.
The coolest thing that I've ever seen someone do with Rampack material is they wrapped up their piece. Mm-hmm. Then they got, like, let's say this cup here. They wrapped up the cup, right? And you can't see this. You're not watching YouTube. You're probably listening to audio. But they'll wrap the Rampack material cup. Mm-hmm. They'll get a little bit more Rampack and make a bag out of the Rampack.
Oh!
And then make a little bow on top.
Well, that's nifty.
Here's the cool thing. My favorite part. Is that it looks just like a little stork carrier bag. And it holds it pretty well because it's Rampack. It does nothing for the protection of the piece that the Rampack doesn't already do. But it looks like a bag. And it's cute, so it makes them completely forget that you didn't give them a bag.
Oh,
they'll just let it go. You're just like, here you go. I'm like, oh, it's so cute. And then you're like, yeah, that's for you. Take it home. And their brain goes, this is a bag now.
That's cute. Yep. I like that.
100%.
Wow.
It is a little bit more Rampack, but also like Rampack is so malleable that you can very easily make whatever out of it.
Yeah.
So like, but this person had like a little tie, like almost like a string, but it was colored, and just like did one of these. Yeah. Twisted it at the top, paper, and then there you go, like a little stork.
That's cool.
As long as it's not a super heavy piece, you're good to go.
Yeah. Wow, that's neat. That's interesting to consider.
That's how you get around the bag.
Yeah.
And get the bag.
I wonder, like in terms of...
Sorry.
Oh my god, that was a glorious laugh. Sorry. I dig it. No, don't apologize.
My baby laughs like me too.
Oh.
It's not okay. Like I came home from work one night and Abel was like, the baby's still awake, and I was like, it's cool. She usually plays, edits video of me and falls asleep while we play Destiny. Mm-hmm. And the baby saw me and she goes,
oh my god.
And I went, and she goes, and I go, and Abel's like, oh no.
That's so cute.
That's not okay. And I was like, it's fine. It's great.
Oh my god. So another thing is Cashbox and Change. Oftentimes people will ask, like, how much change should I bring? For an event like SacAnime, I think I normally bring like $200 in change. Yeah. Either mostly 5s, 1s, and then like some 10s. And again, what change you buy will depend on what your prices are. Because last time I sold at SacAnime, I think my teacups were like, or my prices were in units of 5. So it was like 25, 35, 45 for the most part. So people would most often hand me $5 more than I needed, so I would just give them a $5 change. Right. But if your prices are like 29, 39, 49, you're mostly going to be given back 1s. Exactly. So keep that in mind. And I think it's also fair, again, at smaller events, like people don't or shouldn't expect you to be like a big company and have like a bunch of 20s to be able to give away as change. So if someone like hands you $100 for a $5 item, I think it's okay to ask, hey, do you have any smaller bills by any chance? I just have limited change. Yeah. Like, or, you know, are you okay paying with this by card? Like, you know, I think in smaller events like that, it's completely okay to ask. So just keep that in mind as well. That's another good point on the side of that is that you should have a card reader if your phone cannot read card already. 100%. Yes. There's 2 things that you need for base sales. Well, there's 3, including the change, right? Cashbox. Cashbox, card reader, and charging port. You need chargers for your phone. Charging port? Oh, like the portable phone chargers. Yes. Oh, okay, yes. You're gonna want some for you. You're gonna want some for your assistant. I bring 2 because like the person next to me, you know, like my favorite thing isn't to make friends, but if I can like gain friends through favors, I guess, if that makes sense. If, like, the person next to me has no... Look, I'm antisocial. I'm not a bastard, though, all right? Like, if the person next to me hasn't eaten for 5-6 hours and I notice they don't have an assistant, I will tell my assistant or I will ask myself, like, ask them if they want any food. We'll get them some food. Yeah. You know? Or, like, if they don't... They're like, oh, my cell phone's dying. My brain goes... If I hear them say that, my brain goes, they didn't bring a charger. And I'll just go, here, I brought a second charger. Go ahead. And when I go to the hotel room, I'll just charge it again. Yeah. It costs literally nothing for me to be nice with my extra stuff that is renewable. I'm gonna go get food anyway, and you're not mean to me. Do you want, like, I'll give you some of my food. You know what I mean? You make connections that way. I'm not even gonna say friends, because they're different. Well, it's connections. It's like that camaraderie, you know? It's not like you have to, you know, it's not like people now expect that, oh, you're gonna be friends forever online or whatever, but it's just, I love the community that kind of forms in like Artist Alley and stuff. Like, I remember one year I was a complete dumbass and I forgot to bring food or water.
Yep.
And there was this absolutely gem of a person who brought me food and water throughout that whole like weekend convention.
Wonder who that was.
I'm not gonna say their name, but anyway, but it was much appreciated.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this podcast, thank you. But on that note, actually, it reminds me, a note for food. Since I like to be able to talk to people as much as possible. Like if someone comes by, I don't want to have like food in my mouth a lot of the time. Mm-hmm. So my favorite snack to bring is like cheese and crackers, which is ironically what we're snacking on right now.
This is the first time I've ever had cheese and crackers as a whole. Like I make fun of people who do this. I want you to know.
And that's okay.
I'm doing it now. I can't anymore.
Oh yeah. Well, I
can't.
Admittedly, you didn't ask me for cheese and crackers. I forced the cheese and crackers upon you.
Forced is a strong word. Because I have eyes. I saw the cheese and crackers go on the plate, and I was like, "Oh no, we're doing this."
We're doing this. You're. Yeah. I mean, I'm a white girl. What do you expect? I love cheese.
It was very. They do love cheese. They do. If you give them any type of carbohydrate or fried food, they do a dance. Did you know that?
Oh my god.
You give them fries, they're like.
I totally do.
They all do.
We wiggle.
Every one of them wiggle a little bit.
Oh my god.
Anyway. Sorry. Now that I said it.
I feel attacked. Oh yeah. Okay. So my favorite snack, cheese and crackers, and I actually, in talking about being environmentally conscious, what I want to do this year is like take a block of cheese and cut it up, because what I used to do is I bought like the pre-sliced cheese.
You're mad.
I know, it was so bad. Each little slice was individually packaged, and now I'm just like, that was a horrible environmental decision. But anyway, I like that because it is high in fat, so it keeps you full longer.
Yeah.
But it also has some carbs because it's tasty. And you can eat it really quickly, so you can like take a bite and you're not having to like chew it that long
it's a
before.
Block of cheese,
it's a little, just like a thin little cube or like a thin little like slice. Anyway, it's my favorite thing to eat because it's not messy, it's really quick to eat, but it's also filling and it'll keep you like stable.
It's because you're a monster is why. It should have been point number 1 and 2.
Well, you know, what can I say? It's M as in monster.
Oh, gosh. Side note.
Yeah.
Weird side note.
Tell me.
Way off side note.
Tell me.
So sorry.
It's okay.
Did you know that the government has cheese caves? Caves full of cheese?
I mean, that doesn't surprise me. That's literally how cheeses are stored and made.
Well, that's like, but the government, our government has like cheese caves in mountains nearby most cities. It's because milk goes bad so quickly, but they need a good form of backup food that has enough carbohydrates, fat, and protein.
Yes!
Yeah,
so what you're telling me is the government supports my decision to bring cheese to a convention.
I forgot what they're called.
Coffee. Always bring coffee.
Always bring coffee. Yeah. I mean, coffee and cheese aren't a good combo for like...
Oh, I don't give a...
What are they called? The MRIs? IRDs? They're the military food package. I forgot what
the rations or whatever.
I have a bunch and I always forget what they're called. RDAs, something like that. But like, it's pretty much that in cheese form.
Yeah.
It's insane. Somebody told me that and I was like, a cave? He goes, I swear to you, it's a wet, dank cave full of cheese. And it sounds like I'm making it up, but like, that's how our government stores like excess food sometimes, and cheese is like the number one thing to do. And I was like,
oh my god!
Wow, that's lactose intolerant people are just screwed.
Yeah, sucks to be you.
Yeah,
and me, I'm sometimes lactose intolerant.
As we get older, we find out we're more and more.
Yeah. Oh, I just realized we didn't talk about card readers, different kinds of card readers. So PayPal, Square.
Right. Okay. So let's start off on that.
Yeah.
On the side note of cheese caves, right? To go back to the original discussion, if you're getting yourself a card reader, make sure your card reader matches up with your preferred payment or method that you take money in. So like I have a PayPal card reader because technically speaking, I have a PayPal account, and if you buy something from me, it'll go to PayPal. I also have a Square one because I have, you know what I mean? Like certain card readers match up with certain corporations, and it's easier for you to just go directly into the account that you have the corporation for, rather than being like, oh, let me do this. The card readers are getting advanced too.
Yeah,
They're getting like tap style.
I love those are pretty cool. That's gonna be my first time using that kind because I have that kind from PayPal.
Yep.
And to be honest, like I got PayPal because they literally sent me one for free.
They send it. Yeah, they make sure they know like we do our own.
Yeah, I'm trying to decide if I'm gonna switch that though because. And again, this isn't maybe necessarily a advice for beginners because if you're a beginner, you may not have or if you're not necessarily a beginner, but if you're like beginning to sell for the first time, you may not want to, or you may not have your like web store set up. But another thing to consider is whether your card reader, the company that you have your card reader through, can link to your web store inventory.
Right, and you set that up in the website usually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't decided if I'm going to try and navigate that yet.
Well, we talked about it on like the shipping episode where like Shippo, you can connect Shippo, which is a shipping service, which is free. You can attach that to your website. You can do that the same way that you can do your however you take money.
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
like PayPal can attach to your website if you do have a website, or you can say screw the website and just attach it to your accounts.
Yeah, yeah,
The
and I
thing-
think there are payment fees that you have to pay though, right? Like Stripe.
There's always a middleman.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
always a. We talked about this, but there's always like oh, you can't take money and put it directly into your account from our service. We take a little off the edge first. That's how we operate, and I get that, but it's actually like, I wouldn't say illegal, but at least where we are in California, I'm not supposed to be able to have a service like a website and attach that my real bank account, like Golden One, to the service and just take money from you straight to my account. There has to be a third party.
Yeah, and they charge transaction fees, and it's worth looking up what those transaction fees are.
Yes.
But I think if you're just trying to get a card reader and you're not worrying about your website, I think the Square and PayPal rates are about the same. Like, because after I received my little card reader from PayPal, I looked into it a little bit more, and they're comparable. Like, I think you can find arguments on either side.
They compete, but like, because they compete, they just they hover. Because if one goes too high, the other one's like, crap.
Yeah,
you know,
we
they stay around
gotta
the same.
change it. Yeah. I said this on our episode where we talked about conventions, I'm pretty sure. But one thing to keep in mind as well is that, I'm just laughing at how many times I've said that this episode. One thing to keep in mind, another thing to keep in mind, one thing to consider, anyway, is oftentimes, so like with PayPal, and I'm not sure if Square does this too, but with PayPal, if you are not like consistently selling, and let's say you only sell at in-person events a few times a year, they will place a hold on a certain amount of your money.
Yeah.
And so if you are like, like if you're like, cool, I'm this $3,000 I made this weekend, I'm going to be getting it on Monday. No, you will not. You will have access to maybe like $500 of that, and then after however much time they will give you that full amount. It's just sometimes it takes a few weeks.
If you start making too many money moves, your bank will call you. Like, I remember my first Fanime, I made like $2,500, which is, for me, was like an astronomical amount, right?
Yeah.
At that age, I was like, what am I going to do with this?
Yeah.
But my bank called me and was like, hey, you have a lot of money right now. Are you good? Like, you made an obscene amount of money in this amount of time.
Like a short amount of time.
A very short amount of time. Like, have you been, like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And I told them, like, I started selling my work. And then they asked me, like, what's your work? They asked me all these questions. I got smart, and I was like, don't worry about it. After telling them, like, I'm Mr. Emesis, I just started selling my work, they were like, oh, where are you selling it? And I was like, why you need to know? You ain't taxing this. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, same thing goes for like your spending. If you spend like an obscene amount of money, if you spend like $1,000 on your card and you don't usually do that, your bank calls you and is like, hey, is it good? The opposite also happens. So be aware of that. That like if they call you, it's not like super worrisome. It's more like they're checking on you.
Yeah.
But that do happen though. And they will not give you your money right away because of that usually.
Not the bank, but whoever your third party person is. Whether that's
Stripe does that to me. Where like if I make like $500 in a weekend from the website, they'll hold it for a weekend or like 4 days, and then they'll be like, all right, everything's clean. Here you go. Well,
so we're gonna wrap it up. You might say.
Stop. Stop it. Stop.
Yeah. If you have anything that you think we missed, I mean, again, we're gonna provide links to like comprehensive checklists in the show notes, but we just wanted to talk about some of the major things to go through, our experiences selling and prepping for conventions. But share your experiences. Like, what are the things that you do to get ready for events? What are some of your like things that you must have when you sell at events, whether that's like basic checklist items or like cheese and crackers,
I always bring like just in case stuff. So I always bring like extra shirts and pants and underwear, even though I live.
What you planning on doing?
Just in case. I'm one of those people.
Somebody could spill coffee on you.
I'm one of those people. Like I'm I'm not in the military, but I really like, you know what I mean? Like I have extra rations in my car. Like I have an axe, like a military axe.
Holy balls!
Yeah, well, it turns into a hammer and it has like a little flinky steel on it, but it's not like one of the cheapo ones from Instagram. It's like It was like a $200-$300 military grade axe.
Bro.
That like has a pry bar at the end. Because I'm one of those dudes who's just like, just in case.
Yeah.
If I need to cut something down or make some tinder, like I'm making a fire and eating tonight. You better believe.
Yeah.